This video is going to be a direct response to a podcast by the name of Podcast of the Lotus Eaters. Viewer discretion is advised, as I will be talking about things that may trigger some people. What's going on, everybody? My name's Matt. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today is going to be somewhat of a reaction video. We're going to be talking about a very interesting YouTube video today. It's essentially reacting to the recasting of Rose Tyler, that being Yasmin Finney is now going to be apparently replacing Rose Tyler. The reasons that they give for this are actually, they sound like they could work, but they're actually completely wrong. But we're not really going to go into the ins and outs of how this could be possible or how this just isn't possible. We're going to talk about the subtext, what they're actually saying in their video, and why they're just complete and utter scumbags. Let's get into it. I will not be showing you any part of their video because I do not want to give them any airtime, but I have watched it myself, I have gathered some quotes, and we will be reacting to those. As I said at the beginning of the video, these guys are of the opinion, and basically spouting this now as fact, that the BBC have just recast Yasmin Finney as a direct recast or replacement for Billie Piper's Rose Tyler. And they start their video like this.
You've seen Black Anne Boleyn, you've seen Black Viking Queens. Now get ready for Black Transgender Rose from Doctor Who.
Now, I could have let this slide if all this was just miscommunication, misinformation. They just had their wires crossed and they just basically thought something was true and it wasn't. They just thought it was a recasting and it wasn't. But they started their episode with such a statement, a politically charged statement, that I felt like I had to respond. This opening line really tells you everything that you need to know about these guys. The fact, the agenda that they're trying to push, or the narrative that they're trying to push, is that the BBC has gone woke and is now trying to hire anyone who is black, gay, disabled, female in leading roles, things like that, you know, filling diversity quotas and pandering to political correctness. They start talking about the fact that they used to love Doctor Who and still do to an extent. Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant and Rose, they mention, were the heyday of Doctor Who. Rose was such a big part of that experience for them, which I wholeheartedly agree with. Rose was my first companion. She's the one that I look back on with great fondness. And they seem to just be basically saying that they look back on that time and they wish it was like that again. But then they go and say Rose, of course, was played by Billie Piper, who is notably not transgender and notably not black. Right, so first of all, anyone who is any kind of journalist, anyone who is in any kind of media, whether that's a podcast, a blog, a news outlet, anything like that, if you're saying something and presenting it as fact, you need to at least do a little bit of research. With just 5 minutes of research, you will have found out that Yasmin Finney's character is not a recast of Rose Tyler, but is in fact the daughter of Donna Noble and Sean Temple. Her name is Rose Temple Noble. Obviously, Donna has her memories. She cannot remember the Doctor, but she did know Rose, and the theory goes something slipped through. And essentially, this character is in honour of Rose Tyler. She is not Rose Tyler, she's a completely new character, but she is named after her. That's the first point I want to make. Because as I said, I could have let all of this slide if all it was misinformation and you just got your wires crossed. But they went into this and in their first sentence mentioned the fact that the actress is not only transgender but is also black. Now, the colour of her skin and her gender identity has nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with the character she will play on screen. The mere fact that they felt it necessary to point this out in such a negative tone tells me everything I need to know. They do also go on later on in the video to entertain the idea that she may in fact be Donna's daughter, but go on to actually call her Donna's son, perpetuating the idea that she's not actually transgender because they use quotation marks, which I think is completely unacceptable because you have an audience of 270,000 subscribers. Your video had upwards of 100,000 subscribers who had already seen that video, and basically further cemented in their minds that it's okay to go around and tell people who are transgender that they're not really transgender, they're just going through a phase. Using these points to further your narrative just adds fuel to the fire and gives people who see this information more reason to go and attack these people out in public. What you need to remember is when you have an audience of people who watch you online, or even just people who you hang around with, your friends, your family, the words you say will have an impact. You don't know what someone else is going through. You don't know if your neighbour, your colleague at work, your son, your daughter, your brother, your sister, you don't know if they're going through gender identity issues, if they're questioning their sexuality, etc. These things happen. And when you make videos that start off by mentioning the fact that this person is transgender and is black, and then proceed to make the entire video entirely negative because they just so happen to have the name of a character that you particularly like who happens to be white, you're furthering the idea that it's okay to go and attack these people just because you don't understand what's going on. To you it's not natural because it's not the way you think, but you have to realise that other people are completely different to you. We are all born completely different. I will think entirely differently to the way 100 people on this video are going to be thinking. But the only difference here is I'm not going to attack you based on the colour of your skin or your sexual identity or your gender identity. Now, I'm sorry if this video came across as a little preachy, but honestly I just felt like it was something that had to be said and something that had to be addressed. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this. I would love to have a discussion down below. Follow me on Twitter @MattTheDean, and if you are new to my YouTube channel then please consider subscribing. I'm not going to go into the whole spiel today, but I'm going to end it there. See you later.